Travis Wayne Goodsell. So, the inauguration went without any issues. Good. As Biden has now signed the initial first documents, I heard mention of wondering how the MAGA is now perceiving this, realizing that Trump was promising some great show of force in the final minutes and nothing. And what they must be going through as their whole belief system has come to naught, and the hope that many will come back to reality. As Biden, as the historian had to remind us, who was guest speaker or guest host, a guest on the show after it was over, talking about past inaugurations with compared to this one, is that no previous president had to get up and talk about the need to restore truth. This is what the enemy does. And apparently people are unfamiliar with the art of war. When you're the enemy, your enemy is united against you, as they perceive you as the enemy. And so what you need to do is deflect you as the enemy by dividing your enemy, getting them to fight against each other and destroy themselves, so that you can then come in with little casualties to your army. And that's what Russia did. They got America to have a united enemy in Russia, and got Americans not only to fight against each other, but to have one side loyal to Russia. That's how effective Russia has been against America. The art of war is well known by Putin, as he played it to a T and fooled many Americans and Mormons. And now we have to have a reckoning for the church, as too many Mormons are not living in reality. As I did the video discussing about a Mormon cyberbully on a John DeLynn video, and went over his arguments and my counter replies. And the manner in which so far I've shut him down, he's usually responded rather quickly. So we've gone almost 2 days now of him silent. Is that he purposely left out comments that I made that he didn't want to address, such as he was demanding that I declare what my standard for judgment is, to declare the church and Spencer W. Kimball as evil. That was the John DeLynn video that I had commented on. And he only focused on my reference to the Constitution, which I put as my standard for judgment, but he left out the Book of Mormon, which I also put in there as my standard of judgment, because he's protecting the church, protecting Spencer W. Kimball. And so he's presenting himself as Mormon, and yet he doesn't listen to me when I talk about the Book of Mormon as my standard for judgment. He's not living in reality. He only heard Constitution. He doesn't want to hear about the Book of Mormon as a Mormon. He's trying to come up with all sorts of fallacy arguments to dismiss me being able to judge the church and the prophets. And so there does need to be a reckoning with the church, so that Mormons can wake up and realize that they've been deceived, that they have been brainwashed, that they have been living the lies. Doing the Joseph Smith video running for president, again, Wikipedia pulled the stunt of putting authors as primary sources for information. And those authors were throwing Joseph Smith under the bus. Just like the church does. And it doesn't make any sense. I thought for sure that the church left Joseph Smith alone as racist. Apparently not. They also try to blame him for the source of racism too. It's just unbelievable. And so I did the video, Next Predictions from Book of Mormon after failed coup, American coup, yeah. And reached its average, and it's now pretty much dead. But if nothing happens, nobody's held accountable, we just move on and resume American life and church life, as we call this the new normal, Mormons will never pull out. They'll never wake up. They'll never snap out of it. They'll never be re-educated to reality. And we still have 3 more years. 2024 is John's revelation dates for the last days. It's just a 7-year period, and the Book of Mormon confirms it, telling us what will now happen with these next 3 years. And we see in the Book of Mormon a divided nation. States divided, doing their own thing, and we see natural disasters that get intense and worse. We were saved last year during hurricane season. We did have a 5 category, but it was supposed to be a lot worse. We were saved by Africa. We had 2 Saharan dust storms that blew across the Atlantic and into the eastern United States, southeastern United States. When you introduced sand into the waters, that calms the waters down. Had it not been for that, who knows how serious it would have gotten. How serious the 5 would have really been, and others that I saw forming but gave up. Last year was the first time that Ventus Guy was not very accurate at predicting the hurricanes. It's always struggled on land for tornadoes and storms. It doesn't seem to factor in geography. The Rocky Mountains tend to alter the weather as it blows over them, and delays weather in many cases. But hurricanes, for 3 years, I was very accurate by trusting in Ventus Guy, whereas the news was inaccurate, and I was able to be first on reporting many of the hurricanes. But last year, it wasn't very accurate because of the sandstorms that blew in. But will that happen next year? Or this year, actually? Who knows? We have yet to see if we're going to have a cyclone bomb. We've had extreme cold, storms blowing in the upper east. But we'll see. But fire season, dear God. Though it's very likely Biden will actually give relief to the various states and territories that suffer this time. But that also is concerning, that he's just going to throw money at the problem. As we're almost at 28 trillion in debt, but the manner in which our economy is run, we can crank it all the way up to 100 trillion, it doesn't matter. It's just the way the system works. We can go into as much debt as we want, and it will never come back on the United States. United States will never go bankrupt because they can just throw money. It's all digital. It's all fake pretend money. And so they have no problem as a government giving it to corporations, always claiming, oh, it's trickle-down economics. And so the stimulus, why are you giving it to corporations? You're giving it to the people. People have to go pay for things they want to buy at the corporations. So why are you also giving money to the corporations? Why are you bailing them out? They're already invested in the stock market. The stock market's doing great for them. Why are you giving them money? It doesn't make any sense. It's supposed to be trickle up. You give it to the people. The people will determine in a capitalist economy what they want to buy. And the businesses they don't want to buy from, they go bust. And the businesses that they do want to buy from, they prosper and provide better product for their customers. That's how capitalism was supposed to work. But without any kind of punishment or accountability for the church, without Mormons realizing that the church is evil, is wrong, Mormons will continue to be bullies, will continue to attack. I did the video. that the YouTube Mormon employees who are attacking me here on YouTube, they have my IP address. And so that adds confirmation that they're the ones who have been hacking my computers. The YouTube employees hacking my computers to try to sabotage my programs and just fool around and tamper with my life. And why? Because I do videos like this. That they're not living in reality. And I did the video. They victimized the 12-year-old girl that was victimized by the bishop when they claimed that my posting that in a thumbnail of the bishop abusing a girl was me violating their sex and nudity policy. Sex and nudity. Yeah. Right. This is how evil Mormons get when they're not living in reality. So, unfortunately, unless something happens, I will be further assaulted, and rather quickly. Because the inauguration is over, I would expect the judge in the court to finally do something in my case. She has already exposed herself as complicit with the church. That was what my case was all about, is that justices in the federal court are complicit with the crimes of the church. And thus she proved my case, which means I win. But all she has to do is say, nope, I'm violating the Constitution and my oath of office so that the church can win and not be held accountable. That crime is not a crime when it was committed against Travis. That Travis's life is all fake news, never happened. And when justice is corrupted, that adds to the problems of the nation. And lots of problems ahead. Lots of problems. So, hope you guys are safe. I know you're not Mormons. Mormons aren't listening to me. But I am concerned that the number of views are dropping. And that concerns me because it means you guys are likely dying from coronavirus. Because I'm sure you're not bored of hearing about the breaking news that the prophets revealed themselves as MAGA. Or that Nelson purposely wanted to infect Mormons to fulfill their purposes, or the Mormon doctrine of grudging friendliness. All of you who are ex-Mormon know about the fraud of friendliness of Mormons. And so, yeah, that's the only thing that can explain it, other than YouTube employees in their analytical program cutting back on the recommended for people, because Mormons don't want to listen to critics, and so they purposely separate it so that Mormons never see Mormon critic videos, to protect them so that they can have faith promoting lies and deceptions. Alrighty. So now there's going to be a military review I'm reading off the screen. Got it muted. YouTube would throw a fit if they heard the live performance.